welcome to my wallpaper installation design process. My name is SahrC, and this is my TED Talk. Ha ha ha. About me, my name is SahrC, and I live and work out of Alberta, Alabama. I attended Coastal Alabama Community College between the years of 2020 and 2022, and then I transferred to the University of West Florida promptly in spring of 2023. I am a senior at UWF and will be graduating with my BFA in graphic design with a focus in digital illustration. I also like to dabble in photography, mainly in landscapes and portraits. The Bride of Frankenstein wallpaper design. With this project, I was able to focus strongly on illustrative design. However, I had never designed wallpaper before, so it was both exciting and daunting. So I began diving into the history of wallpaper, and I love history, so this part of the project was a lot of fun. Wallpaper originated around the 16th century. Early versions of wallpaper were used to decorate the interiors of cupboards and small spaces in merchant homes, so not on such a grand, large scale in like mansions and castles and stuff like that. They were meant for smaller spaces. There are many forms of wallpaper, including ornate designs such as print room wallpaper, hung in Donington Hall, Lincolnshire, about 1760, which is featured on the right. That is that beautiful blue wallpaper design that you see. And then on the left, being the red flock design in 1735, which is this really cool pattern, leaf, nature design. History continued. In the 60s and 70s, a high point for many wallpaper manufacturers when sales were strong and designs were bold and modern. However, the oil crisis of 1973 led to a significant reduction in the size of the industry worldwide, with many firms going out of business or being taken over by large international corporations. Increasing competition from the paint industry and popularity of finishes like stippling, creating shapes and images making small dots, so like that comic design that you see, and rag rolling, using a roughly folded cloth of any material to create a marbling effect. The 1980s also led to the reduction in sales, and only areas of growth were in the cheaper mass-produced goods sold in DIY superstores. Horrible. More recently, however, wallpaper has undergone a revival, thank goodness, in its fortunes. The fashion for feature walls has encouraged a taste of larger, more assertive patterns, while the development of digital printing and the revival of screen printing has enabled artists and freelance designers to get involved. People like Ralph Lauren and Vivienne Westwood have helped shape wallpaper fit within the bold 21st century look. So the images that I have featured here on the bottom is Ralph Lauren's iconic what's the word? Flannel. That's the word. Flannel. I was trying to say gingham, and I'm like, that's not right. Flannel design. And then on the top is a image from the 60s and 70s of wallpaper that featured these bold reds and pinks, and then almost these neon-like contrasting colors. So the design process. So in this design process, I really wanted to focus heavily on the title in the beginning, because that was gonna give me the sense of where this design was gonna go. Was it gonna be playful? Was it gonna be cartoony? Was it gonna be classical? So that was kind of the idea that I was going for those here featured. And I personally really liked the far left design because I like the idea of the title being stitched together. I had to decide on how I was going to not only design this but also represent this in space and how it was going to work in space. Ditched the title design altogether and went back to the drawing board. And this point, I watched The Bride of Frankenstein. So as I was watching it, I was writing down sketching ideas of what I was going to have featured. Like, was the color going to be black and white? Was it going to be muted? Was it going to have color? What were the elements? Dark, dreary, moody. I mean, it's a moody film. It's dark. It's also from the 30s, so it's in black and white. I was like, what am I going to feature? I had to feature the bride, obviously, but I had to also have Frankenstein's monster too. Could I have the castle? Could I have the burning windmill in the beginning of the scene? These were things that I was trying to think of to add into this wallpaper design. So, the design part 2, I went in and designed the monsters and added the title again, and then had the castle and the rocky ridges of the mountain. So, I added Frankenstein on the top left and the bride on the right. They do not have faces. I kind of just wanted them to have faceless silhouettes. My professor thought that was odd, so I ditched it. But in the middle design, you can see that I have the cross from Jesus nailed to the cross, which there are heavily influenced Christianity themes in this film because these scientists are acting like gods and then creating these abominations. So Christianity is heavily involved in this film. And then on the far right was the title facing green, which I kind of like the green. This lime green kind of helps stand off from the black and white and grayscale background. I also had made variations or variants of these posters, these wallpaper designs. So this bold, we have the and of in this calligraphy style, and then the Bride and Frankenstein being in this creepy, drippy, bold design. And then again featuring the Bride and Frankenstein in this scene where it's just the title and the monsters reaching out towards each other. I was under the guidance of my professor, John Doherty, and I felt good about my design. And he said the one thing that was in the back of my head, and he said, it looks more like a poster than wallpaper. So I was devastated, but I took the feedback, went home, and began redesigning for the third time. This project was becoming my own Frankenstein's monster. However, I picked myself up and began to design again. And this time ditching the title and focusing mainly on the characters and other various icons I could pull from the film to feature in the wallpaper. Figuring out background color. Did I want blue and purple? Did I want this green, mossy color? Or did I want traditional black and white? So I went with my gut and went with the traditional black and white design. Icons. I went back and watched the movie again. By this point, I've watched it 3 times. I'm tired of watching it, but it's a good movie. But I'm tired of watching it because I have to design. Things that I was going to add from the movie. Obviously, I had to add the bride because that's the point of the movie. The Bride of Frankenstein. It's the bride. Keeping in mind that I also had to keep, Frankenstein's monster in this movie because it's centered around him as well. I also had to keep this in mind too. The bride shows up at the end of the movie, 12 to 13 minutes at the end of the film. That was fun. So I really had to dig and figure out what I was going to add into this wallpaper. So I began sketching. I made silhouettes of both the bride and Frankenstein, along with what you saw on the last slide featuring on this wallpaper. I added from the old poster, I added Jesus on the cross because I want to add Christianity into this. Fire, because fire bad, and that's what Frankenstein is afraid of. He is afraid of fire, so I want to feature that in there. A anatomically correct heart, because it just fits the nature of this theme. Frankenstein is lonely. The monster is lonely, and he wants to be in love with someone, just like Dr. Frankenstein. He is in love with somebody, and the monster wants to be in love with someone as well. So I created this anatomically correct heart. I added lightning bolts, and then I added these 2 bulbs that you see right here, which is what's used to bring both the bride and Frankenstein to life. They lift them up on that high bed up to the top of the tower and let lightning strike it, and then that's what brings them to life. So I wanted to feature that into the wallpaper design. The layout of the wallpaper. This was the struggle. It was figuring out how I was going to lay this out without it being too all over the place or too on top of each other. So that was a big thing that you can see featured in this large square in the center. that there's just too much going on. It's causing too much chaos. Made these pattern designs of the variants. Again, too much going on. I kind of liked where the second image on the left was going, but it was too monotonous. There was just, you could tell it was a repeating pattern. And then on another screen, my professor had saw where I had made this design, and he loved this the most. He said that this looked better, and you could tell that it was not, it was a pattern, but it wasn't obviously a repeating pattern. This is the one that I landed on. And I didn't want my icons just sitting flat on this black and white background, so I went to texturelabs.com, which is this texture website that you can download and add into Photoshop and Illustrator or InDesign. And I found this really cool scratched up film grain pattern or texture, and I laid it on top, did an overlay on top of the image that you see here, and then darkened it down to show more of the scratches because I wanted a dilapidating look. I wanted something that was falling apart, it was decaying. And then for final, I added postcards. I took the Bride of Frankenstein, made her own wallpaper that you see featured here on the left. In the middle, I kept the title because I really loved that green, and made a postcard with the title. And then on the right, this really cool pattern design of Frankenstein's monster. I was very pleased with the way that these turned out, especially the title here. I mean, people are going to see the wallpaper and be like, oh, it's Frankenstein. But I also wanted people to take away that this is not just Frankenstein, it is the Bride of Frankenstein. So this also gives people the encouragement to probably watch the movie, because that's another takeaway, or a key takeaway that I wanted. I wanted people to go back and watch these old movies. As someone who is a film buff, that's what I love designing. I love redesigning old movie posters, but keeping to the classic themes, not bringing them into the making them modern, essentially. So that was the whole process here too. Was keeping to the classic 1930s Bride of Frankenstein classic. So, with that being said, thank you so much for watching this. Hope that you enjoyed watching this. I love designing this, despite calling it my own monster. It was fun. It was a process, and I had never done wallpaper before. So, this is installed in the tag gallery. Tonight is the tag exhibition of synthesis. If you can come and attend, that's awesome. If not, the tag gallery exhibition will still be up, I think, May 3rd. I think the last day you can go in and see it is on May 3rd. You can come see it after graduation on May 2nd. I think the gallery will be open until 5 p.m. on Saturday. So come check out my wallpaper and see the amazing thing that I created. And you all have a wonderful day. Bye, and thank you so much.